begin with the news that the former head of Colombia's National Security Agency, María del Pilar Hurtado, who was sentenced by the Supreme Court to 14 years in prison for wiretapping and illegal monitoring telephone calls. Now, the scandal occurred between August 2007 and October 2008, when Del Pilar Hurtado served as director of the Department of Security, known as DAS. It was during the presidency of former conservative leader Álvaro Uribe. The court also sentenced Hurtado's colleague, Bernardo Moreno, former Secretary General of DAS, to 8 years under house arrest for the same crime. We turn now to Natalia Margarita for more.
Colombia's Supreme Court has handed down sentences against former Chief of Intelligence María del Pilar Hurtado and former Secretary of Presidency Bernardo Moreno, both of them top close aides of former President Álvaro Uribe Vélez. The Supreme Court's order came after both Moreno and Hurtado were convicted earlier this year for their roles in legal interception of communications, as well as espionage against journalists, magistrates of the court, as well as politicians who were opponents of the previous president, Uribe Vélez. While the former head of Colombia's intelligence agency, DAS, María del Pilar Hurtado, was sentenced to 14 years in prison, former Secretary of Uribe's presidency, Bernardo Moreno, was given 8 years under house arrest. As for María del Pilar Hurtado, she was not granted the benefit of house arrest, taking into account that she was a fugitive of justice, as in 2010 she fled to Panama in an attempt to avoid prosecution, and it was until January this year that she turned herself over the Colombian authorities. After the sentences were handed down, both former high-ranking officials were respectively arrested and are now joining the list of at least other 5 former President Uribe close aides that have already been convicted for corruption, ethical breaches, or illegal activities in general. Now, Colombia's Supreme Court also called on for an investigation of former President Álvaro Uribe himself for what is charged with his role organizing a spying ring that illegally intercepted the communication of his opponents. Natalia Margarita, Telesur, Bogotá.